All right, so yeah, I'm Mike Laurence, and I'm going to tell you a story about a sandbox. It's a metaphorical sandbox, not a real one. So yeah, basically, Deepworld, as Mark described, I've been working on it with Jason and Quinn for about the last 15 months. It's a massively multiplayer game, and it is a sandbox. So what does that mean? Basically, for a long time, games were very linear things, much like movies and novels. You know, you'd sort of have a specific progression. But as technology got more sophisticated, game designers realized that they could do things you can't do with a book, unless it's choose your own adventure, I guess. But so games came out like Grand Theft Auto, which despite its violence was a very interesting title because you could just go anywhere and do anything. And that's led to, in more recent times, some really incredible games, including Minecraft, which is one of the most famous now games of all time. Basically a very open world where you're there, you can explore, you can build things, you can destroy things. There's not really a specific purpose. It's just a sandbox for you to play in. So we were inspired by Minecraft. We played it obsessively for weeks, and we decided that we wanted to make a game in that vein, a sandbox game. But we thought that maybe we could do a sandbox like Minecraft, but still have some story, some narrative. So we came up with this idea to have a sort of a post-apocalyptic backstory, and we'd have characters that came from this background, and there would be sort of a narrative in the game, but it would still be a sandbox. But the first thing that we realized was this was a huge idea, so we needed to start small. Our background is in agile web development, so we thought, why don't we do agile game development? So, you know, the very early successes were just trying to make the thing work. Here we have our first world. You can see up there we built a yay. This is the first world that ever successfully saved to disk and then loaded again. So very exciting. So we're like, okay, well now we have this base thing. Now let's start maybe interjecting some narrative. So we thought about it. We have this world that we can change. What kind of story can we give the players? So we decided that we could offer the ability to change the world, not just by placing blocks and mining, but really change the ecosystem and the environment, which we thought was cool because, you know, the Earth is such a messed up place too, so why not make it in-game possible to improve the environment? So we came up with some technologies that would be in the game as our sort of the voice of the game, the narrative. It was this post-apocalyptic world, so it's dilapidated, destroyed, messed up. So what can we do to return it to a beautiful place? So we gave players tools in-game as part of this narrative. A purifier to make the world, the acid rain, turn into pure rain. A composter so people could essentially restart the plant ecosystem. And now we're going to have a recycler so they can take the scrap metal they've found in the game and turn it into usable metal again. So that narrative really helped us have this focus in spite of it being this open sandbox. The other thing that has been incredibly rewarding and very interesting in terms of the agile development of the game has been our community. From early on, we knew that we wanted forums so we could have people suggest things. The cool thing about a sandbox game is you can kind of do whatever you want, so we just took suggestions. And we've had tons of suggestions from players. The more players we get, the more they just have all these ideas. So recently, there was a thread in our forums called Hats and Stuff. And these were some of the stuff and hats that were suggested. So our intrepid artists drew them up and they were coming into the game. People were just thrilled to see that their suggestions would be in the game. We've also had players submit their own specifications and art. This is a very complex pipe system that someone submitted very early on, and we said, that's a little crazy. It's beautiful. So sometimes you gotta be careful with what you can promise to deliver. Another cool thing about having a community is players start to take ownership of the thing. So one of our players actually put on a Christmas competition himself, telling people to draw a portrait of his in-game avatar. So this was the winning entry. Another player drew this first player and then won a prize, which was really awesome to see. Another thing about communities is that there are other communities out there. And we found that sometimes they gravitate to yours. So there was this huge startup/game called Glitch that recently closed about a month ago. And we've been getting this influx of players from their community because they realize that Deepworld shares some similarities. Now again, there's this feedback loop with them. So they had already had sort of an experience that they liked, which was very peaceful. Deepworld's a little more violent. So they wanted us to change some things, which we didn't want to just totally acquiesce, but we were able to sort of provide a compromise where they could build a world without monsters and a little less violent. So again, a sandbox, you can kind of do what you want. You want to have a focus, but you can compromise a lot. And then a final thing about agile game development, as I'll call it, is that sometimes things happen you didn't even expect. We have all these players that now just trade. They're just constantly exchanging and bartering, which we never thought would happen, but it's become a central experience of the game. So since we're agile, we can just adapt our story and the way the game works so that they can do things like that. Our forums, we actually had to upgrade because we were getting so much traffic, so we're now spending a considerable amount of money, I mean relatively, to host a really epic forums. There's so many threads. We have I don't know, tons of 5,000 page views a day now in our forums, and we have users signing up every day with new suggestions, which is just a thrilling feedback loop. But again, we want to make sure we maintain a sort of have all these features, but have sort of a specific story that we focus on. Especially for press, we've found that in order to get it, you need to have an angle. It's not enough to have cool technology, but you need to have a focus. So one of the things that our press has always remarked on and felt made us compelling was that we have this sort of environmental angle where you're actually changing the world. And so that's been very rewarding as well. So when it all is said and done, that feedback loop with the community has helped shape that narrative, which has been really exciting. And they keep suggesting things, we keep bringing them in, and I think so far it's going really well. And yet more things to come, and we're excited to see where that leads us.